Hi, my name is Emma Shirey. We are going to go on a journey and see Italian art and architecture my family got to see in 2019. This is my family having some fun in Italy. This is the Sistine Chapel and Vatican Museum. They are connected. The frescoes on the ceiling of the chapel took Michelangelo 4 years to paint. The Vatican Museum has many Renaissance pieces of art and is one of the top most visited museums in the world. Here are some pieces of arts from the Vatican Museum. Very interesting piece. This is the St. Mark's Basilica built in 1071. It was built next to the Doge's palace, so that Doge would have his own private chapel. There are many gold ground mosaics all over the chapel. This was one of my favorite kinds of art in Italy, and this was also one of my favorite places in Italy/Venice. There's a close-up of it right there. This is the Doge's palace. It is pure Gothic architecture. This palace was the central government building at its peak time. The Doge, or ruler, used to live here with his family for his lifetime. It houses the largest oil painting in the world, right behind the Doge's throne, covering the whole wall. It is 74 by 30 feet. See here, the main entrance to the palace is called the Porta della Carta, and this is the link between St. Mark's Basilica and the Doge's palace. There is a bridge going across the canal that leads to the dungeon. There was many deaths and tortures in the palace, especially in the dungeon. My mom got lost and a little scared down in the dungeon. Whenever they had to cross the bridge, the last thing they got to see was the canal, and it was like, ugh. The interior of the palace boasts stunning artwork on the ceiling and the walls made of stucco. We just took some really interesting pictures. The Pisa Cathedral was designed by Brunetto and was built in the Middle Ages. It is a medieval Roman Catholic cathedral dedicated to the Assumption of the Virgin Mary. The spoils that were gotten while fighting against the Muslims in Sicily were used to pay for the construction expenses. The architectural styles used in the construction of the Pisa Cathedral include Lombard and Melian, Classical, Islamic, as well as Byzantine. The cathedral holds many things from the Middle Ages, like the tomb of Henry VII. This top picture is a view from the Leaning Tower of Pisa. So, very top of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, you can see. Here is someone singing in the Pisa. You hear the beautiful echoes with how pretty it is. It was beautiful with all the echoes. This is the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which I'm sure you already know about. The tower's tilt began during the construction in the 12th century, caused by the ground not being strong enough to support it on one side. It increased its tilt until the late 20th and early 21st century tried to fix it. It used to lay on an angle of 5.5 degrees, but now leans at an angle of 3.99. That's my sister Anna propping up the tower. And that's my cousin and my Uncle Ben holding up the tower, and my dad playing Superman holding the tower up. Here's some pictures of us. And so the great picture of my Uncle Ben. This is the Florence Cathedral / Duomo. The cathedral was begun at the end of the 13th century, and the dome was added in the 15th century. The dome was built without any support beneath it, and is still up to date. The dome was one of the most significant architectural achievements of the Renaissance. See here, this is a video inside of it. My dad took in, there was a lot of noise in there, so let's put it on mute. See the artwork on the sides? People would sit during church. It was usually really packed out, but for some reason, whenever we went that one day, it was not that packed out. This is the statue of David by Michelangelo. He finished it in 3 to 4 years, but he really wasn't the one who started it. People had started it several years before, and it sat for 30 years before Michelangelo started working on it. It's 14 feet tall, so you can see those people behind it, how tall it is to them. David became the symbol of liberty and freedom of the Republican ideals, showing Florence's readiness to defend itself. It is located at the Galleria dell'Academy in Florence, Italy. Other pieces of art in the Galleria dell'Academy. Very interesting. For some reason, when that time came, the really popular kinds of art were naked statues. This is the Pantheon. By Marcus Vespasianus Agrippina built the first Pantheon around 27 BCE. It was destroyed by a fire on 80 CE. It was rebuilt between 118 through 125 and is still standing today due to Roman concrete. It is the largest dome from the ancient world, measuring 142 feet in both height and diameter. The thickness of it goes from 21 feet at the base to 4 feet at the top, thus lightening the stress of the weight on the roof. The opening in the dome is 27 feet wide. It's called the oculus, which is Latin for eye, and is the only source of natural light inside the Pantheon. It became a church in 609 CE. Starting during the Renaissance, the Pantheon was used as a tomb for many artists, kings, and queens, and so on. The architectural majesty of the Pantheon has inspired numerous builders throughout the centuries, like Filippo Brunelleschi with the Florence Cathedral, Louis XV with the Paris Pantheon, and Thomas Jefferson with the Rotunda. This is the inside view of the Pantheon. See the dome? See how big the dome is? That was a very bright light. It almost made you blind when you looked up. Sometimes I wonder what they do when it rains. This is the St. Peter's Basilica, which is on Vatican Hill in Vatican City. It took 219 years, 31 popes, and 10 architects to complete the project. There are several popes and saints on display in the basilica, while there are 201 popes buried beneath the church. What I mean with they're on displays, they're like covered in, I don't know how you would say it. That's me and my dad in the very top picture. And I know it looked very bad in that picture, but we were just very tired. This is a view from the top of the St. Peter's Basilica. If you want to stop here, you can, but if you want to keep on going, you can. This is the Colosseum. Its construction began in 72 AD, and under Emperor Vespasian, his son Titus and successor completed it in 81 AD. It took only 9 years to build, with 60,000 Jewish slaves building it out of stone and concrete. The Colosseum could simulate water battles. There are 80 entrances in the Colosseum. When the medieval era took over, the Colosseum was transformed into a housing complex for those in need. It also held a cemetery and even a castle ground for quite some time. The loss of life is essential at 500,000 human lives and 1 million animal lives. The Colosseum was responsible for many wild animal extinctions, like the hippo, and are not exactly extinct yet, but they're going extinct. A lot of structural damage is due to the medieval era. Stone was removed regularly to build other attractions beneath it in the city. St. Peter's Basilica being one of them. Here's a video of it, what it looks like inside. There were a ton of people in there. Here's some pictures of my family. This is Palatine Hill. It's the most famous of Rome's 7 hills. From the start of the empire in 27 BC, Augustus built his palace here, and the hill gradually became the exclusive domain of emperors. You can still see the ruins of the palaces of Augustus, Tiberius, and Domitian. Apollo's temple is also here. According to Roman mythology, Palatine Hill was the location of Cave Lupercal, where Romulus and Remus were found by the she-wolf Lupa that kept them alive. There's a video of what it looks like that my sister took. That was one of my favorite places right there. See them kind of working on rebuilding some things, finding missing parts. A lot of underground transportation is closed because they're finding stuff underneath. It's the Palace of Augustus, Tiberius, and Domitian. Here is the Roman Forum. The Roman Forum was a site where elections, public speeches, gladiator matches, and even trials of accused criminals took place. It is a rectangular forum plaza surrounded by ruins of several important ancient government buildings at the center of the city of Rome. Most of the structures built there were constructed during Julius Caesar's reign and during Augustus, his successor's reign. Most buildings were destroyed in 410 when the Roman Empire was falling. This is the Trevi Fountain, another one of my favorite places. The Trevi Fountain is Rome's largest and most famous fountain. It is 85 feet high and 65 feet wide. At Trevi Fountain Center are several figures including Oceanus, 2 horses, Triton, goddess of abundance, and goddess of health. It took 32 years to build Trevi Fountain, beginning in 1730 and ending in 1762. There were several injuries and a few deaths during its construction. I don't know how exactly they died, but people would die from stones and falling on them. Throwing coins into Trevi Fountain is symbolic. 1 coin ensures a return trip to Rome, which me and my cousin and my sister did. 2 coins are for those seeking love. 3 coins symbolizes wedding bells. Each day, approximately $4,000 is thrown into the Trevi Fountain in form of coins. The money is used for charitable causes. That's a lot of money for American coins. I can only imagine what it's like with the Italians and all that money. This are the Spanish steps and the Fontana della Barcaccia, which it means fountain of the boat, at the bottom of the Spanish steps. Here's some pictures. Here's another video. That's my grandmother and my mom at the top of our first place. My dad made a video. Place in Rome.
Our view from our apartment up here. Triton Fountain. Right down the street is Trevi Fountain.
Traffic was not.
Trevi Fountain is
Well, their traffic safe
down that
not
way
safe to me.
to the last couple of
It does not
blocks.
feel safe.
Neat little city.
Here's another good video of Venice. Venice at night. It's beautiful. Here's some interesting facts, or important facts. Mosaic is an art technique using small pieces of glass or stone and embedding it into the ground. It was used in many cathedrals and other places in Italy, like the St. Mark's Basilica. Fresco is a painting done rapidly in watercolor on wet plaster on a wall or ceiling so that the colors penetrate the plaster and become fixed on it as it dries. This was in the first place we looked at. Venice is all on water, so they get everywhere by boat or walking in St. Mark's Square. Police officers even have their own boats and things like that to get around. It has flooded there several times, and famous museum things have had to be sent away for protection. Gelato was an ice cream-like dessert we got almost every day in Italy. Sometimes even got it twice. I hope you like Italy as much as I do, and I hope you want to go there someday.